he's somebody who can be a playmaker for you. And those opportunities aren't there when you're playing alongside Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. And I'm not quite sure that Avdija is in the best place right now for that development.
Really quick, before I begin, if you guys can smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, this seriously makes a huge difference to my videos and lets YouTube know to recommend this video to a brand new audience. So thank you so much for doing that, and let's begin.
Deni Avdija, he's a 6'9", 210, power forward, number 9 pick in the NBA draft by the Wizards. He's had a rookie season that has been sort of the inverse of what LaMelo has experienced. Whereas LaMelo, moved into the starting lineup after 20 games, Deni moved out into the second unit after 20 games. I don't think that anybody expected Avdija to set the world on fire statistically. I mean, personally, I projected him as like a supporting spot-up playmaker off the catch who occasionally threw in some pick and roll here and there. He's averaging 5.9 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 1.3 assists. His BPM is negative 3.8, which is a tough kind of sign for a rookie. But I think that number might be misleading because of his situation. Like, his shot looks fine, and he's shown those glimpses of playmaking. And but the key thing here is that with Beal and Westbrook at 35.8 and 31.2 usage separately, it's been difficult for him to showcase the pluses that would keep him on the floor, which kind of brings me to the big knock on him, which has been tough, is that, instead of having that situation where he could do some things to offer something, there's been a lot of pressure put on his defensive struggles, and where he's at 1.119 points per possession, which is in the 6th percentile of the league, way down there. And there's some more specifics about that, but it's just been tough for him to do the things that he does well. And I think that he needs runway and he needs reps to develop the things that I think are going to long-term be his offering in the NBA, because defensively, he's just had some issues. I think he's been a little bit overwhelmed by the speed, the second step speed of drivers in the NBA. I think he's kind of caught between worlds. He's not long or athletic enough to bother 4s and 3s, and he's not fast enough to guard perimeter scorers. So he's just had some issues there. But, effort is fine. Have you guys seen him defensively much at all?
I think he's solid for a rookie. It's a weird fit for all the reasons you outlined, Kyle. I mean, he's somebody who can be a playmaker for you. And those opportunities aren't there when you're playing alongside Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. And so in that sense, there's some disappointment with what we could have seen in a different situation. It kind of ties into everything we're talking about here, situation, opportunity, environment directly affect player performance and player development. And I'm not quite sure that Avdija is in the best place right now for that development.
I acknowledge his strengths and how they need to grow.
What I'm still most perplexed by with him, though, is the shooting. The shooting is weird with Avdija. It always has been, where he's shooting 36% from 3 this year, but only 58% from the free throw line.
It makes no sense. He doesn't get to the line, and he's horrible.
Also shot
only
19 free throws, so it's hard to even. That's less than 1 a game.
Sure, I mean, to be fair, it's a small sample, but also this is somebody who pre-draft talked about how his shooting is mental. He says it's all mental. It's in his head, and the free throw shooting, granted it's a small sample, still sub 60%.
Yeah, and Israel was the same thing, that weird split.
Exactly.
I think with Deni, it reminds me a little bit of Obi Toppin at 8, where when I look at these guys, I always try to ask myself, what is your role in the NBA right away? How can you, how are you going to find your role if you're not a top 5 pick? Because if you're not a top 5 pick, they're not probably going to move the team around to get you that role, right? You kind of got to break your way in and just find a spot for yourself. And a guy like Deni is just hard to do that because he needs the ball in his hands. He's not a plus defender, and he's not a plus shooter. So to me, it wouldn't surprise me if Deni ends up going to 2-3 teams, right? If Washington kind of mediocres out for the next 2-3 years with Beal and Westbrook, maybe they flip him for a wing who can guard, be a 3-and-D guy, and he goes to team 2, then maybe goes to team 3, and then he finds that role, right? It's all about fit. And if you're not a top 5 pick and the fit's hard to find, that's how guys start moving around the NBA.
I think you're absolutely right. That was something that I've thought a lot about pre-draft, was that he kind of strikes me as a Joe Ingles type. He's somebody that can play with other initiators and be a guy that you can kind of mix in and mix up your looks. But he has a sort of a timidity to him, I think, that he might grow out of too, because when you watch him play defense, he is in the places where he needs to be. He understands the rotations. I think it's just he has a little bit of like deference and like he doesn't really have the audacity to just go out there and be like, I'm shooting, or like he just that toughness I think will come into him maybe as he gets older.